Creating a basic point counter like this is very easy. In this part of the tutorial, I will show you how to create the basic setup and a way to count points. In the second part, we will make this cool change animation you can see here. So, let's jump straight into it. At first, I'm going to create the UI. I add a canvas in my scene, and in there I just create a simple text component. You can wrap your point HUD into as many layers as you want. Just make sure you have a text component for your text. With a random number, I can later check if the script works, which should set a starting value of 0. And helps with getting a preview of this beautiful design here. So let's create a script. I create a point HUD script, which will only handle the HUD update, and later a second point counting script, to show you a good way on how to handle this inside of a game. Inside our point HUD script, we need a reference to our text component from the text object. So the type is text. This comes from the Unity UI package, so add this to your imports. And I also add an integer variable which references the current points. This variable is always the one we set as text in our frontend. I set a default value of 0. We want to update this variable from outside this class. So I'll add a public getter and setter, because the variable itself is private. This is a very good practice and will also come in handy for our use case. Because from inside our setter, we will call the update method for the frontend. This means whenever this variable is modified, our frontend will be updated too. With setters you can easily trigger updates or other behaviors which are inside of the same class. To update the HUD and start to, I call this method once in the awake function of this class. Inside our update HUD method, we will simply set the text of our point text to the current point value, which is saved inside our integer variable, and just needs to be converted to a string with the simple toString method. Back in Unity, I will create a new empty game object which will hold our script. Make sure to add your text object to the according slot. As you can see, the value changed from the random number to 0. Now that this works, let me show you how you could count your points. I create a new script I call point counter. I need a reference to our point HUD class, which I will do by simply getting the reference via the Unity inspector. I would usually use a singleton for the point HUD script, but singletons are not part of this tutorial, so let's keep this simple, and this approach is totally fine for smaller games. A straightforward way to count points without counting ticks or using a tick system is by using coroutines. For the sake of simplicity, I like to use this method in game jams. Inside our count points coroutine, I add a never-ending while loop. You should never do this outside of coroutines, or else this loop will run forever in one frame. Your Unity will definitely crash. Via our variable, which references the point HUD script, I can call the setter of a point variable. Note that the public variable via the getter and setter is written with an uppercase first letter. I can treat this as a default variable and just add 5 to its current value. Even if we just set the value, changing variables with something like this plus equal also needs a getter. This is why we added this also. Now we can add the wait statement for the coroutine. This line is very important to make this while loop not crash Unity. Before jumping back to the front of the while loop, the coroutine will now wait for 1 second. If you want really small updates, you can use the wait for end of frame. Now just start this coroutine in the start function, and basically that's it. Now add your script to your manager object as well, and also reference the other script by simply dragging this manager object into the slot. If we test this, we can see that every second our value increases by 5. In the next episode, I'll show you a way to add a cool animation for every point update that happens, like I did in one of my game jam games. So, stay tuned. If you enjoyed the content, consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you next time.